If you're interested in mastering your emotions, welcome back to my series answering the most frequently asked questions about healthy emotions. Today, we're going to dive into question number 9. Why do I keep repeating the same emotional patterns? As always, if you're wanting to keep up with this series, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribed. That way, you'll get notified whenever new videos are uploaded, helping you build awareness, resilience, and a deeper understanding of your emotions with each episode. I've spent years trying to just learn how to master emotions, not just through studying them, but through confronting my own reoccurring patterns. And that felt frustrating and hard to change. And I understand how discouraging this can feel. You notice yourself reacting to familiar ways across different situations. But when you take the time to understand why emotional patterns repeat, you stop blaming yourself or others for what keeps happening. And instead of seeing your emotions as a problem, you begin to see them as valuable messengers guiding you to what's unresolved or unmet inside. Understanding the root causes like learned nervous system responses, subconscious beliefs, or unprocessed emotions gives you the power to respond intentionally instead of automatically. And this awareness is crucial because without it, you're likely to continue reacting the same way, even when you consciously want to change. Answering this question also allows you to take ownership of your emotional life. And when you know why a pattern exists, you can spot it early, interrupt it, and make a different choice. It builds confidence that you are capable of change, even in moments that once felt overwhelming or automatic. Digging into why patterns repeat helps you strengthen your relationships and your overall sense of self. And when you respond rather than react, communication becomes clearer and interactions start to feel less emotionally charged. And you start trusting yourself more because you see that you can handle situations with awareness instead of being hijacked by old patterns. So, in short, answering this question isn't just about understanding yourself, it's about creating real practical change in how you experience life every day. So let's break down this question. Why do I keep repeating the same emotional patterns? One reason people repeat emotional patterns is familiarity. So even when a pattern is painful, the brain tends to gravitate towards what it already knows. So if stress, overthinking, conflict, or self doubt have been a regular part of your life, your nervous system will often default to those dynamics. And that doesn't mean it feels good, right? It just feels known. And that's why you might avoid trying new approaches or responding differently, even when you know the old way doesn't serve you. Your brain is trying to recreate a familiar emotional environment because predictability feels safer than uncertainty. And recognizing this can feel uncomfortable, but it's really the first step in learning to respond differently. Even discomfort can feel easier than the unknown territory, and that's what keeps patterns repeating. And change begins when you notice the pull toward the familiar and choose something unfamiliar anyway. And by tolerating that discomfort, you start building a new blueprint or emotional response that actually serves you. And over time, your nervous system gradually learns that safety isn't tied to old familiar stress, it's tied to presence and awareness. Another major factor is childhood conditioning. So, the way we learned to manage emotions early in life often shape how we respond as adults. So, if you grew up in an environment where emotions were ignored or dismissed or overreacted to, your nervous system may have learned that certain emotions are unsafe or must be suppressed. And many of us unconsciously recreate similar emotional dynamics because that's what our mind learned was normal. This doesn't mean the patterns are healthy, it just means they were learned. And so, a helpful question to ask yourself is, where did I first learn to respond this way? And exploring this can reveal why certain emotional responses keep showing up in work, friendships, or in family situations. Another reason patterns repeat is lack of self awareness. So many people focus on external events or other people's behaviors without noticing their own responses, choices, or triggers. And without the reflection, the same dynamics just show up over and over. Self awareness requires confronting uncomfortable truths about how we react, make decisions, and participate in emotional cycles. And that doesn't mean blaming yourself, it means observing how your participation contributes to this cycle. And once you begin noticing your triggers, it becomes clear how much of the pattern is automatic versus conscious. And awareness allows you to pause, respond intentionally, and gradually retrain your nervous system. Observing your reactions gives you insight into long standing patterns, making change possible. And without reflecting, patterns just stay invisible or repeating quietly in the background of your everyday life. Fear of vulnerability and change keeps many emotional patterns in place. And so, even when you recognize that a pattern isn't serving you, stepping out of it can feel threatening. And the brain often prefers familiar discomfort to unfamiliar uncertainty. Trying something new, like speaking up or taking a risk, changing your routine, or confronting your own limitations, feels unsafe, even when it's ultimately beneficial. And we sometimes maintain patterns not because we enjoy them, but because leaving them pushes them into unfamiliar territory that our mind interprets as risky. Breaking a pattern may mean facing anxiety, unpredictability, or self doubt. And that process can't feel destabilizing because it challenges our emotional world that once felt reliable. And it also forces us to trust that different outcomes are possible. Growth rarely feels comfortable at first, but tolerating discomfort is essential for true change. And the willingness to risk uncertainty is often what allows patterns to finally dissolve. And letting go of the familiar opens that door to emotional freedom and more intentional living. So, to start breaking patterns, the first step is naming what you're feeling in the moment and identifying if the response is familiar. Notice if it's a pattern that your nervous system automatically defaults to. You can incorporate a grounding exercise like taking a few deep breaths, feeling your feet on the floor, or scanning your body for tension. And then introduce a new option such as pausing before reacting, asking a question, or choosing a small action that's different from your usual response. The work isn't about forcing yourself to change overnight. It's about compassionately guiding your nervous system towards new possibilities. And over time, this creates neural pathways that support healthier emotional responses. And this approach teaches your nervous system that you can tolerate discomfort safely, making lasting change possible. So, when you understand why these patterns exist, you stop seeing your struggles as failures and start recognizing the deeper dynamics behind them. And that awareness creates real space for change. You can learn to respond differently, make intentional choices, and start living life on your terms. Understanding these patterns also gives you freedom from self blame, and you begin to see that repeating patterns isn't a personal flaw, it's your nervous system and subconscious doing what it knows best, often in survival mode. And once you stop fighting yourself, you can start working with yourself. creating responses that actually serve your growth instead of feeding the same loop. And you start realizing that noticing your patterns isn't weakness, it's a form of strength. And you begin trusting yourself more because awareness shows you that change is possible. And finally, breaking these cycles isn't about perfection, it's about consistent practice and self awareness. And each time that you make a conscious choice, instead of reacting automatically, your nervous system learns a new way is possible. You begin to just feel lighter, more present, and more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. And that's where true emotional freedom begins. To support you in building emotional awareness, I've created a free resource called the Emotional Breakthrough Guide, and I'd love to share it with you. Inside the Emotional Breakthrough Guide, you'll find step by step exercises that help you notice your personal triggers, reflect on emotional patterns, and begin responding in healthier ways. These exercises are designed to fit into your everyday life so you can start building emotional awareness and control immediately. You can get your free Emotional Breakthrough Guide right now by clicking the link in the description below. And once you do, you'll receive instant access to the guide so you can start using it immediately. You can move through it at your own pace and begin noticing small but meaningful changes in how you cope emotionally. If this video helped you, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, and turned on your notifications. That way you'll be notified of the next video in this 23-part series on healthy emotions, where we continue building the awareness and skills you need for long-term emotional health. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.